What's going on, everybody? It's me, Marreo, and today I'm here by myself. Yeah, no Momma Kim, no DJ E-Box, it's just me by myself. And so I must admit, I'm a tad bit nervous about being doing this alone. I have been saying I want to do something solo for a minute now, but I've always felt like I needed the crutch of having somebody there just to feed off the energy because I feed off the energy of other people. But so we're gonna give it a go. Please bear with me, and we'll see how this goes. But anyway, so today I want to just talk about my recent visit to church. Ironically enough, um, I had shied away from the church for about almost a year. Just the politics of church, the financial aspect of church kind of turned me off in a lot of ways. My relationship with God still stood. However, the all the other stuff around it kind of made me shy away from it. But recently, my friend Tammy, shout out to Tammy, she said, "Hey, we're gonna go to church tomorrow," and I was like, okay, cool, we'll go." And the night progressed and everything like that, and I started thinking, "Do I really want to go?" Yada yada yada, all that kind of stuff. However, before we left each other for the night, she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna call you in the morning, to wake you up for church." And I was like, hey, don't call me. If the Lord wants me to be there, He's gonna make sure I wake up on time to get there. Well, Sunday came, and lo and behold, guess who woke me up and for me to make it to church on time? And so I went. And one of those things that they say when you go to church and the message is just for you. Um, that is exactly how it was for me on this Sunday, on this particular Sunday. So, and praise and worship was amazing. For me, praise and worship is what really ushers me into the service. And so it did exactly what it was supposed to do. And then it came time for the offering. And normally I cringe at this because sometimes you go to church and they lay on this for 30 minutes or so, seeming like to get people to give their money. However, this Sunday, it was a lot different. So Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts was the one preaching this Sunday. And so she got up and it was time for the offering. And she said, she was talking about giving, everything like that. And then she flipped it. She said, "For those who don't have it to give your praise. Give your praise that it's going to come. Give your praise that it's on the way." Oh, and I was like, wow. Because I had never heard that verbiage. It's always about give, give, give. I'm seeing, give this, give that. Um, and so the fact that making it about those who really don't have it to give, but really want to give, that really, again, helped usher me into it. So now the praise and worship, now the offering coming through, I'm like, wow. Then it comes time for the sermon. And so she titled the sermon, Love Steps In. And so, based on the title, I really wasn't knowing what to expect from the sermon, but she gave so many tidbits and dropped so many gems throughout the course of this sermon. It's been really hitting my spirit since I've heard it. I've listened to it multiple times. I've even been on TikTok, scrolling through TikTok, getting other people's take on it as well. I took notes during the sermon, talked to my therapist about the sermon. It just really resonated with me. So before we get started too much into discussion, I want to play this clip.
Was it in your marriage? Was it in your childhood? Where did love fail you? Is it in the grief? Oh, love, love, love. People ask, if God loves me, why did this happen to me? I was thinking about that when I look at the text where Jesus tells Peter, Satan has asked for you. And Jesus just handed him over. And I'm like, Jesus, if you loved him, why didn't you push Satan back? Why'd you let Satan ask for him? And Jesus says, because I loved him, I prepared him. I warned him. I told him what to hang on to in the midst of it. Sometimes we think love failed us because it didn't preserve us. But sometimes love supporting us is that it prepares us. Oh, God, I wish I said that real good. There are some things you've gone through that all love could do is prepare you for it. I couldn't keep it from happening. I allowed it to happen. But even in the allowing it to happen, I preserved you. I tried to prepare you. I prayed for you. You're here at this altar, and maybe you don't know Jesus. And maybe what you've heard about him has intimidated you into thinking that you got to be perfect, you got to have it all together, and you got to know everything, and that intimidates you, and you feel like his love failed you before you even experienced it. I want to apologize, because the Jesus you heard about is not the Jesus that's in Scripture. The Jesus that's in Scripture meets you in whatever condition you're in. The Jesus that's in Scripture doesn't care who you did it with or where you were when it happened. Loved you before you loved him. And I would love to pastor and introduce you to the Jesus that meets you right where you are.
All right, so that was one of the clips that was during altar call, and I was convicted to go. Convicted. I don't. That sounds like a strong word. I was moved to go to the altar because everything that she talked about throughout the sermon really spoke to me. However, one thing that she said, and I was looking for a clip of this particular passage or part of her sermon that I haven't been able to find, but she asked the question, when did my love turn cold? Basically, she said, when did your love turn cold? However, I internalized it and said, when did my love turn cold? Because the sermon was all about love, love stepping in, love failing you, all of the things. And so that particular question really resonated with me, as it resonated with me. As a matter of fact, it kind of sat on my mind for days after that. Because it's a powerful question. And that's a question I pose to anybody that may be listening today. When did your love turn cold, if in fact it has? And I pondered this and pondered it and pondered it. And I realized I wouldn't exactly say my love has turned cold, maybe lukewarm. Uh, Sometimes it seems a little cold, but for the most part, I would say it's more so lukewarm than it is cold. However, and even then, I still had to sit with, like, when did this change for me? When did this change for me? Because I've always prided myself, if that's a word. I don't think it is. Please look it up. But I've always taken pride in the fact that I've been a loving individual. I've led with love, wore my heart on my sleeve in more cases than I care to admit. But there has been a shift in the last couple of years. Life experiences, reflection, all of those things have allowed me to kind of change my narrative or switch my narrative and change my focus in a bit. And so when I finally came to an answer, or what I thought may be the answer for me at this present time, is as to when did my love turn cold? Only thing I come up with is it became cold or different when I came to the realization that some of the ones that I loved and appreciated would never be able to love and appreciate me in the way that I needed to be loved and appreciated. And that took me a minute to come to that realization, because I would always feel as though I wanted everyone to reciprocate what I was doing, not really giving thought to the fact that we're all different. We're all going to love, we're all going to appreciate people in different ways. However, for me, I live by that rule is, basically, if treat others how you want to be treated type of thing, but not realizing that, hey, again, everyone is different. And so for me, I had to come to the realization, though you may not be, you may not do things the way that I would do them. It doesn't make you wrong. It just makes you different. However, I have to be honest with myself to say, hey, if you can't love nor appreciate me in the way that I need to be loved and appreciated, then there needs to be a shift. Because wrong of me to sit in these situations that don't serve me. Um, and I hate to say it that way, but it's real. It's real talk, real life. Um, so many people do it. Stay in places longer than they should. Really are not getting what they need out of it, but staying because, hey, I'm staying in this relationship because, boom, for whatever reason. I'm remaining friends with these people because we've been friends for years, and that's just how it should be. Oh, that's my parent, and I need to make sure that I'm doing X, Y, and Z to honor thy father, thy mother, which I believe all of those things. But I don't always believe that you need to show up. How can I say it? I don't believe that you always need to show up in the way that is not going to serve you. So for me, again, my love shifted when came to the realization that it was never going to be reciprocated in the way that I needed it to be. And it was an eye-opening experience or eye-opening thought process for me. It also it was kind of emotional for me because to think that, especially when I think of this, I really think of more so of some of my lasting friendships that I've had that I've poured into for so long. And I'm not saying they haven't poured into me, but I feel like in some cases it's been a pour into me in an afterthought, in a sense of I'm going to do just enough to keep this guy around, but he's going to do he's going to jump through hoops and leaps and bounds and all the things to show me that he's a great friend, but I'm just going to do just enough to keep him around. And so when I finally woke up and realized that, hey, this ain't hitting, this ain't for me. Um, I realized that it's time for a change. Matter of fact, my therapist had told me one thing too. He had said that you're going to have to go through a season where you lose people, and in order to make room for the energy that you really want in your life. And when he said that to me initially, I was very, very, very scared by hearing that because I'm like, oh, what does that mean? And I fought tooth and nail with that. I was like, man, I don't know what you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, yada yada yada. However, as I continue to live and just continue to listen and continue to watch and continue to listen to myself, continue to watch people, continue to listen to myself and watch people, listen to myself, watch people, I realized, hey, there is a shift happening. And I'm okay with some of these people that I thought would never leave or I would not be able to survive without. I'm okay with me exiting stage left, not creating a big scene or a whole lot of drama around it, just saying, hey, I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? And I'm at peace with this decision to just move in a different way. I mean, it doesn't mean they're bad people, doesn't mean I'm a bad person from leaving. It just means that this was no longer a situation that's going to fit me. And that's where I was. Um, and I will be honest, in some cases, in some days, it left me a little bit lonely, somewhat, because you get in a routine of calling your friends about such certain things, or whether it be something serious or just some nonsense, just for a good laugh. You don't have that anymore. So I don't, and maybe it's not loneliness is not the right word to use. Could be more so just a sense of emptiness. But I'm okay with that too, without that too, because I know what comes with me making those calls and me reaching out. I know what comes with it on the other end. So then, though it may in the moment, I'm satisfying the need of being able to talk to somebody, but then all that extra baggage from before will come back. And then I'll be mad at myself for making those moves when I should have just sat still. And so, um, yeah. So that really, really resonated with me. Just the fact of when did my love turn cold? Um, and I had to knew I had to make a change. And not just with my friends. Key relationships in my life come to mind when I say when did my love turn cold. A couple of them are good friends, um, and the third is my mother, um, which is interesting. Um, though my love isn't cold for her, obviously her love is cold for me. But I'm also dealing with that and making peace with the fact that, hey, we are what we are and it may not ever change. And I'm good with that. As long as I feel comfortable with knowing that I did and what I should have done and did all I could do, I'm good. But anyway, back to this sermon. So that part really resonated with me and that kind of got into my spirit and stuff like that. But then she also said some other things that really um, were aha moments. So let's take a look.
Woo! We got a love crisis because we don't know if we can trust it. And yet everything we do for God, we're going to have to do it from the place of love. The Bible tells us that the only way they'll even know that we are children of God is by our love. We cannot afford to have a love crisis. And so when Peter is pulled back because love failed him, Jesus goes out of his way. Because love has this way of always stepping in. Just because your love failed doesn't mean that God's love didn't pass the test. Don't worry, we about to go home. But I want you to know that everywhere you experienced a failure in love, that God's love still passed the test. And the greatest gift you can give your renewed mind is to not compare God's love with the love that you receive from others, nor the love that you give. Because your love has a history of failing. Human love has a history of falling short. But when our love falls short, his love steps in. If you don't believe me, ask the woman who was caught in the act of adultery. When everyone else was getting ready to throw her away, Jesus says, hold on, love is about to step in. I know you thought that you should have lost your mind, but you know why you didn't lose your mind? Because love stepped in. I know they couldn't raise you, but you had that one teacher. That one teacher was on assignment because God says they're not going to get love where they need it from, but I'm going to make sure that love steps in. Love.
So as you can see from a couple of those clips, and I encourage anybody to go check out the full sermon in all its entirety because it really is a powerful word. And who knew? I mean, let's stop for a minute and talk about that. Who knew that I would be here talking about a sermon that I heard, let alone my experience to going to church and all that kind of stuff. But who knew I would be here today talking about a sermon that really touched me? And not to say I've not been to church before and sermons that touched me, but it takes a lot or took a lot for me to really sit down and want to talk to everybody else about what I got from this sermon. Um, so if I refer back to a few of my notes from the sermon, she talked a lot about the output, and your output is only as good as your input. And it made sense. It made perfect sense. You got to be mindful of your mind. Be mindful of your thoughts. Be mindful because those are some of the things that resonate as your inputs. Your thoughts, your thoughts, your some of the things that you vocalize. All that stuff plays into the inputs, and so be careful of that because what you're putting in also impacts what comes out. And a lot of times we get so caught up in what we want to see on the outside or want to get caught up in our outputs that we don't stop to really pay attention to what we're putting in and the inputs. And they're just as important as the output, even though we place more emphasis on the output. So she said, change the input. And if you want to change the output, you got to change the input. Made perfect sense to me. Made perfect sense. She said also, God makes us hungry for a different output, but when we control the input, what things in your life align with that output? Does your input reflect that? So basically, does your input reflect your output? Is your output and your input aligned? If you're putting all this negativity into pouring all this negativity in, then why would you expect positivity to pour out? It made sense. It was an aha moment for me because, be careful about how you speak to yourself. Be careful about what you say to yourself. Be careful about what you internalize. Be careful about all those things that manifestation in a sense, be careful what you manifest because if you want that a certain output, you definitely need to make sure that you're putting all those things, the right things into you. Just like baking a cake or something like that. You're not, hey, if you don't put all the right ingredients in, you're not going to get the cake that you desire. So look at life in that matter as well. Whatever you're putting in should reflect what you want to see on the other side. Um, she said something that said, you want the power of God, but don't want the process of God. And I'll be honest, I'm guilty of that. I want to experience all the blessings of God. And don't get me wrong, God has really blessed me in my life. And I cannot steer away from that. But you just want, I guess, more blessings and more increase and more and more and more. Um, but not realizing there's a process that you have to go through to get the things that you desire. And so a lot of times we may focus on some of the things of what we see other people, you know, may have, and God blessed them with this, and God blessed them with that, and when is mine going to come, and when is this, that, and you have to realize I don't know their story. I just, to the point, I just see what I see, but I don't know everything that took place to get them to that point. But yet I see what I see, and I'm thinking like, oh, what about mine? What about mine? I very well could be going through the process that I need to get the blessings in the life of all of the things that I desire, or the desires of my heart. So I have to be willing to go through the process, kind of go through the storm in order for the sunshine to come. And so that really spoke to me. You want the power of God, but don't want the process of God. And realizing that, hey, everything is a process and everything doesn't have to come easy. There's a process of everything. So that also resonated with me. Um, and then, of course, she said, what happens when our love grows cold, which I already spoke about. um, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that kind of goes into the whole thing about your inputs and your outputs, um, transforming your mind to speak the things that you want. Speak positivity over your life. Speak yeah, in a sense, just speak positivity over your life. Speak positivity, and that way you will get the things and be blessed with the desires of your heart. Granted, they may not come, excuse me, how you want them, when you want them, but as you stay, what did it say? As you stay consistent, as you stay steadfast, and you stay believing that they will come, and you keep living your life as if it is going to come, that is the key. Trust the process. That's what I got from it. Trust the process. Um, And yes, it is possible that love fails, and I'm sure we all can empathize with a situation, or empathize with each other, or have situations where love has failed us in some way, shape, or form. Um, it's not perfect. Love isn't perfect. It's going to fail us, and we have failed in love ourselves. So then we also got to give grace to those who have failed us as well. Um, and start looking for where love has stepped in. I know it's easy for us to focus on where love, to the point of before, where love has failed us, but we need to really start looking at where love has stepped in. Where has where have we been shown a different way? Where have we seen things differently? Sometimes we don't want to pay attention to those type of things because we're so focused on what isn't there. So we really need to focus, and that's really me speaking to myself, speaking to pay attention to what is there versus what isn't there. Um, I've heard the saying, you have to appreciate the things that you have now in order to get the things that you want in the future. If you sit around complaining about everything that's not right and everything that you wish you was going good for you and this, that, and the third now, you want how are you going to achieve those things that you want in the future? So you really have to show appreciation for the things you have now. The car that you have now may not be the car that you want. However, appreciate that car because you have a car and some may not have that. But appreciate the house that you have now. Some people can't say that. And you may be wanting increase, you may be wanting things differently or better or what have you, but you got to show appreciation for what you have now because guess what? It could be taken away from you. Let's be honest. But then also, there are, you want to be thankful. you have a spirit of thankfulness and a spirit of um, gratefulness for the things that we are blessed with each and every day. Even though we may want more, but we really, really need to take the time to really be thankful and grateful for the things that we do have. And finally, the last thing that she said was, you have to master this love thing to get the things that you desire. And I think I kind of talked about that a little bit already. Just, kind of goes back to changing your inputs and your outputs, um, or changing your inputs to get the desired outputs. Um, and so that's it. That's it. Shout out again to my friend Tammy for making sure that I made it to church that Sunday. I was more than ecstatic that I did. Happy that I went. Um, really glad that this sermon spoke to me. Really glad that just just really glad. Some things I really need to hear. Some things I really need to see. Some things I really need to feel. And in this, all those came up for me. And so I was glad that I went. So I'll leave you with this. If in fact it has happened for you, when did your love turn cold? And maybe not cold, but let's say, when did it shift? When can you notate or can you remember when there was a shift in your love? We can all, like I said before, we can always talk about how love failed us. But when we talk about and look at ourselves, take an intrinsic look at ourselves and say, hey, when did my love turn cold? When did I see a shift? I don't know. I hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, I feel a lot more relieved that I've got through it by myself. I don't know. Stay tuned. More to come. I tend to have a platform. Don't exactly know what that would look like right now, but I would like to do something by myself. I think it's something freeing about it for me. So I have to maybe take the training wheels off a little bit. I enjoy, recording with Ronnie. I enjoy recording with Momma Kim and Brian. But there's also something freeing about me doing this on my own, facing my fears, if you will. So I thank you guys for joining me, and I will talk to you soon.